Hi guys. Today we started our class with a Padlet about slope. I posted a link in our Zoom and we collaborated on thoughts about what slope was, except for this one, of course. Okay. And most of us did say rise over run. It's the M, right? It's Y over X. Okay, the one that I wanted us to really remember was the rate of change, right? Another name for slope is rate of change, because our topic today is unit rate. Okay, so and those two are kind of related. They sound almost identical, rate of change and then unit rate, right? Rate tells us that we're finding the slope. Okay, so that's how we started class, just with ideas that reminded us of what slope were and how to find it. And then we went into our Jamboard. Okay, so go ahead and go open the Jamboard for today. Okay, and the Jamboard can be found in week 9. The date is either 10/13 or 10/14, depending on what day we meet. The title is Unit Rate as Slope. Be careful on which one you open. One of them is in Spanish and the other one is in English. Okay, so depending on your preferential language, that's the one you're gonna choose. Okay. Okay, part of the reason why we also did that Padlet is to get us to thinking about slope and how we have already solved for it, right? How we've already used the rise over run on a graph to help us interpret what our slope is, right? So we're still using the same checklist, right? We're adding a few things to make it more real world, realistic, but we have already done this process, okay? So we're using the concepts that we have already done, okay, and we're building upon those. So if you notice our checklist down here, okay, 3, 4, 5, and 6 we have already done. The two new ones that we're adding are labeling the y-axis and labeling the x-axis. Okay, this scale right here, we've already dealt with some problems that do not count by one, right? So when we look at each of our axes, they are either counting by ones, okay, they can be counting by twos, they can be counting by threes, they can be counting by fives. It all depends on how it's labeled, okay? So let's take a look at our first example. Okay, we've scaffolded the problem for you to kind of help guide you through the problem. So you should have an answer for each of these blanks right here on the right-hand side. Okay, so first, if we go find the title of the graph, titles are at the top of the graph. This one is price of soda in a vending machine. Okay, the label of your y-axis, remember your y-axis is the vertical axis on our graph. So the label of it or the title is price in dollars, right? So let's go fill in that one. That is price, parentheses, because that is how it's being measured, right? It's being counted in dollars. Okay, so our scale, right? If we look at each line right here, each blue line, it's being counted by ones. So our scale is just going to be 1. Okay, and our y-intercept, remember it's where our y-axis and the line on the picture meet. Our y-intercept is 0. Okay, we're going to do the same process of labeling and finding the scale, but now for our x-axis. Okay, so our x-axis is the flat horizontal one. The name of that one is number of sodas. So we're going to go fill that in. Okay, if we look at that scale, that one is also counting by ones. Each blue line just represents 1. Okay, our next step would be to find 2 good points, right? It's already done for me. There's 3 points I could use, 4 possibly if we want to use our 0, 0. But I'm going to pick 2 points that are close together, okay? So I'm going to pick 1, 2, and I'm going to 2, 4. So I did my triangle. I went up and right. The reason why I went up first is because my line is positive, right? When my line is positive, I go up and then right, okay? So let's see. We're going to count our rise. It's 2. I'm going to go transfer that. Our run is 1. So remember when we set those up, it's y over x. Our rise is 2. Our run is 1. If we divide those, we get 2. So now if we're going to write our answer out, it's going to be 2, whatever our y is, it's price, but in dollars, right? So we say dollars per whatever our x is called, right? Hours. So that is what my final answer would look like. That is our slope, also known as the unit rate of our graph. So it would be like this, $2, because that's what my y is talking about, per my slope word, hours. And it's per hour, I'm sorry, singular. $2 per hour. I just want one singular, right? Whatever my x is. I can't say $2 per hours like I had it, right? It should be $2 per hour. And you're probably wondering where I got hour from. That is from an example I wanted to do in your journal. So it's actually $2 per, sorry about that, guys, soda, right? But hopefully you caught that. Maybe you didn't. You just thought I was, I don't know, making that up. But our example that we should have done in our journal was hours. I had labeled the x-axis as hours, and that's what I was thinking of. But we can do those notes right now after this example. Okay? So it's dollars per soda because I only want how much it costs for one soda, right? Unit is just 1 unit. So it's one thing of my x. Okay, so get your journals and we can take those notes and then you can finish the rest of the slides. Okay, so in your journal, what I want you to write down today's date. Today's a B day, so I'm going to put the 14th, but yours could have been the 13th, right, if you had class yesterday. Okay, the title is Unit Rate as Slope. Okay, and what this means is that unit rate is the same thing as your slope. So if your problem told you find the unit rate, you know that all you're doing is finding slope, okay? Once we find our slope, that is the m that is in our equation, right? Just like what we've been doing. Okay, the way we find it on a graph is rise over run, okay? On a table, remember, it's y over x. And then the new part that we're adding is the y label, so whatever y talks about, over whatever x talks about. Okay, and then when we get our final answer, it's y per x. So if we draw a graph for ourselves, it's just a big L, x-axis, y-axis. Our y-intercept is going to be 0. Our line is positive because it's going to the plus direction. Okay, this is where I had to label my x-axis dollars, right? And this is where I had messed up and I called my x-axis hours on the other one. This is where I wanted you to have the hours. Okay, so we've already worked the process and we found out that our M is 2. Okay, so we did the rise over run. We counted our arches. Okay, we put it into a fraction and we simplified and we got 2. Okay, so when we're writing our final answer, it's going to be 2. And remember, we do y per x. Y is talking about dollars. So it's $2 per, and then singular of hours would be hour, because I only want 1 unit. So one thing, $2 per hour. So what you have to do now is go back to your Jamboard and complete slides 4 through 8. 4 through 6, I'm sorry. 4, 5, and 6 are for you to work on. Slide number 7 is bonus. And then slide number 8, you're done. If you are able to check off everything on that checklist, then you're on the right track.